The Justice Department has just released their 2012-2013 report that has noted a huge increase in the divorce rate in South Africa. Here with me in studio to talk about what this means for South Africans, I have Elle-Marie Nielsen, who is a divorce lawyer, and Margaret Fulton, who is a marriage counselor.
Thank you.
Tell me, why do you think the divorce rate has increased?
Regional courts until 2 years ago were only one in Cape Town called the Southern Divorce Court and one in Johannesburg called the Northern Divorce Court. And what the Department of Justice has done, and they say it's their flagship, and I never thought I'll defend the Department of Justice, but their flagship was to make justice more accessible for people. So what they've done is they've opened 24 new courts in rural areas and in suburbs and so on. And so there's been a spike of 105%, in fact, plus 28%.
Wow.
What intrigues me, and that's what I want to hear from Margaret, is obviously people have been wanting to divorce a long time, but they couldn't afford to come to Cape Town or Joburg.
Okay.
And now when the courts opened up, they all streamed there. Yeah. Now the regional courts were specifically started for people who can't afford lawyers. But what intrigues me is, why did people wait so long? Why this flood? 105%, it's a flood.
Well, what I've found in my experience is when couples come for counselling is that they have been waiting for a long, long time, and especially in the hope that things are going to get better. Somehow they have this idea, and I suppose it's a hope, that things are going to get better on their own, which of course doesn't happen. And they will go through a lot, waiting and waiting and waiting, until they finally can't wait anymore. They have the opportunity and they are at their wits' end and they go.
But what are they waiting for?
They're waiting for things to improve.
Yeah, in the relationship.
Or wait for the children to get older. And I've had so many who come to me and say, my kids are now 17, 18, say, get over it, get divorced, because we can't stand the bickering in the house anymore. We want peace.
What kind of effects does a divorce have on children?
Firstly, it actually rocks their security. It's like a blanket's ripped out from under them. Because we were always told the best thing you can give your children is a happy marriage. And now suddenly their security is gone. And many of them think it may have been their fault, even though parents tell them no, it's not. And the one advocate that I work with, his parents divorced when he was a matric, and he had harm from that. 16 years later, they remarried, and he's still walking with some hurt.
Yes, no, there is no doubt that it's something, as Elle-Marie says, the security and the safety is rocked. The children who had a safe home, or thought they did, no longer have that anymore. And for all of us, that's what we look for in life, a place where we feel safe.
But in worst cases, the parents fight the divorce in front of the kids, or they use the kids as a weapon. You can't see the children, you didn't pay maintenance, or you didn't put the right things in the lunch box, I want to go to a facilitator, that kind of thing. That it gets so bad that sometimes even the police get called in to say he brought the children an hour late. So this poor children are standing there in front of the house, police are rocking up to investigate this. That's some of the bad cases we have.
No, actually what I wanted to say, relating to the point that you made earlier about it being so devastating for the children, the divorce being so difficult for the children, that research has found that once they get over the idea that there will be a change but they'll be safe again, what helps them to adapt even better is the harmonious relationship between the parents. If there's conflict between the parents, they have very little chance of adapting well. But if the parents handle it carefully and considerately for the children, then it's fine. That's actually a very good predictor for a successful outcome for the children.
And what are some of the reasons people are getting divorced?
Finances, about 22%, 23%.
Yeah, stress and financial stress is a very big one.
And adultery is a big one. Adultery is about another 20% or more.
Really?
Yeah. And funny enough, it's not just men who have the mental pause. It's also women who say, but this is my last chance. I need to move on.
Well, I think that actual infidelity affairs are very, very exciting, attractive lure for people in a difficult relationship, a rocky relationship. And in many ways, I think the ease of having affairs today, or affairs being acceptable, but more acceptable than they were, say, 50 years ago.
There's so many websites you can go
yes.
to have affairs.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think in the same way that divorce has become more acceptable, affairs have become more acceptable. So people...
I'm not sure acceptable, but the norm. And is the norm acceptable? You know, but
No.
yeah, it's more and more prevalent.
Yeah, so it's easier, so you will feel ease about making that difficult decision.
Yeah. What are some of the warning signs? How can people detect when their relationship is becoming rocky?
You know what? I think, and this is now me philosophizing, the worst kind of cancer you can get is resentment, where a person is maybe getting bored, or maybe there's other things, or other issues that they brought into the marriage already, but the honeymoon is over, the initial niceness is over, now a little bit of resentment. He's not that handsome anymore, she's not attractive anymore, or they don't take enough care to nurture the relationship. And then a little bit of resentment starts getting, didn't bring me flowers for the wedding anniversary, no, didn't I? And some people only start mulling on those resentments, and it grows bigger and bigger, and that always is a sign. When they start talking negative all the time, then you know, hang on, something is wrong.
And I think people need to realize and understand that you have to communicate that to your partner, to your other in the relationship, and the two of you can sort it out, because you probably have similar needs that aren't being met or similar difficulties.
Yeah.
And if you kind of respect one another and respect the openness between you, you can sort it, you can sort it out. You just can't take it personally. And I think that is one of the difficulties, that emotions take over and they destroy most opportunities for having a reasonable, calm discussion.
The other thing that you asked earlier is, generally, has the divorce rate gone up and up and up? It hasn't gone up proportionately as much as it has in the past, for the reason that as many people don't get married anymore. The other thing we find very often is that they live together, have children together, and then we deal with it when they break up, and who can see the children? There's no court order to determine that.
Yeah, well, society's changing. I'm not quite sure what the reasons are. I think the gender roles, renegotiating the gender roles is definitely having an effect. The more openness, the technological openness, more access to the internet and communication. I think those things are influencing the change in
thinking.
What do you call them? But no, the change in norms and things, that structures that we've been used to for so many years, like the family. We're seeing more and more. The family is not a husband and a wife and two children.
Right.
The family is something else.
Yeah, we talk of blended families. That's where you've got this couple married, they have children together, they have children from previous relationships, and then there's also an ex on the side who says, can you babysit my new children? You know, blended families, it's happening also more.
Yeah. And we have to accept that those are families with as much validity as a married couple and two children.
So do you think the divorce rate will continue to increase?
I think so. I think so. Because I think many of the factors are also increasing, the factors of the me generation, the instant gratification, the I want it now. I'm sad to say, but I think so.
I was reading some very interesting statistics about the accessibility of divorce to women in developing countries, and how women looking at their roles, again, the gender issue, and the women looking at their roles and having more ease to get out of very oppressive relationships where they've been held almost captive. I don't know if they're streaming out, but they are doing more than they did a few years ago.
And do you find couples who are on the road to divorce, do they seek out help before they actually get to the day where they get divorced?
Some do, but I would say that most don't. Most come to see me when there isn't very much hope of saving the situation.
Also, speaking of divorce rate and things changing, 20, 30 years ago it was a scandal to go see a psychologist. Now it's not. Everyone's got, shrinkers on their speed dial. Good.
Well, do you think people are becoming frivolous when it comes to divorce? Or do you think it's necessary?
I think so. You know what? Sometimes when they come and I have to say, well, what do I put in the summons as the cause of the divorce? Then I have to think long and hard. I don't like his dog. I don't know, it's the weirdest thing. They can't really give me a reason. And that to me indicates that they're frivolous.
And I want to talk about separation. Is that an option before divorce?
It's not a legal option. Our law doesn't recognize that. In my experience, couples have said, let us separate for 3 months, live separately, or 6 months or so, and on that date we'll re-investigate. And in my experience, none of them have reconciled.
Really?
Yeah.
If there is a separation, if you decide on separation, the chances are very small that you will come back together again, because the relief of escaping the conflict is so huge that you go through another honeymoon period of excitement and relaxation. It's almost euphoria that you're finally away from it, and you think, well, this is how it's going to be for the next 20 or 30 years in my new life.
Yeah.
And that isn't the case.
And quite often the door's then been opened, and one or both of them start other relationships, even while they're still
Yes.
married and still working through can I say, separation.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Okay.